Hi everyone. Today video session is on form validation using custom validator component in Blazor server application. Okay. When this custom validator component is helpful means if you want to validate a form value, something like email, if it is already existed in our database or any storage medium at my server. So in this kind of scenarios, this custom validator component will be very helpful. Basically, this custom validator component is not a built-in functionality, but by inheriting component base class to a normal Poco class, we can make it as a component. So inside of it, we can add our custom logic that is going to add some error message similar to like a data annotation validations, which how they fire in Blazor server. Same way, these custom validator component error message also displayed on the UI. So in this video session, we will do a sample on it for validating the form values against our data store on the server. Data store can be anything like in-memory values or database values or some file values. Anything can be validate against our form data. So for that, here I am using Blazor server. Why I am using Blazor server? This is appropriate for only for the Blazor server only. In Blazor WebAssembly, for doing server-side validation, we can do it in Web API validation. So it is useful for server only, Blazor server only. Okay. So here I have created a sample Blazor server application that is in .NET 5. Now let's implement a sample on custom validator component implementation Blazor server application. So first thing I want to do is I want to create a some fake business logic files. Means like I will fake that like that logic will validate our field form field values against the database. So here what I will do, I will add some collection of fake data in my in-memory class file so that I will implement a logic to validate the form values against that fake collection of object. In real time, you can replace that fake collection of object with real database connection. Okay, so let me create a folder like logics. Okay, inside of it, I will create a tester logic.cs. Okay, I want to mention one more thing. This entire session has been made as blog. Okay, this is my blog on this Blazor server form validation using validator component. So if you are interested to blog, the link will be available in the description under the video. So you can go over through my blog if you want. Everything that I am going to explain in this video has been furnished into this blog as well. So you can check over there. Okay. Coming to our sample application, let's create our fake logic. Okay, here what I will do, I will create a collection of fake things like that. I want to validate like email is already existed in the server data store or not. So here I will create a collection of fake emails. Amanth@gmail.com from@gmail.com. Okay, these are all my uh, emails that are already exist on my data store, in-memory data store. Okay, so for real-time example, you need to fetch these from database. So let's implement a one method that returns boolean is email exist. String email. This input parameter will be our value from our Blazor server form. Okay. Here what I will do, I will return Tool or equal to new email. Okay. If our form email is matched with any of my fake collection email, then this method will return true value or else false. False means user entered is a new email address. Okay. So let's create an interface for this class so that I can add it in dependency injection. Test logic dot. So let's define this method definition in our interface. So let's inherit this iTest logic for my test logic. Okay. And now let's register it in our startup file. Since it is a fake data, right? I can do like singleton only. If you are using database, go for a scoped one, which is better. So register like this. Next thing, we need to import our namespace into our where. So we have file like import.razor. Here, just import our namespaces, logics. So I can easily use these files in our Razor pages. Okay. Now our fake business logic code is completed. Next thing is we will create our custom validator class, custom validator component class. For that, what I will do, I will create one more folder like components. Here I will add a file name like custom validator. Okay, .cs namespace components. Okay, so let's create our class. Actually, I have mentioned right, it is a plain class only, nothing built-in class component here. A custom validator. So now to make this custom validator class as a component, we need to inherit class like component base. So now this class is a Blazor component. Okay. Now here we need to write our logic to to store the error messages that are added that will be added on validating our form data against the database value. So here we need to create one important variable like private validation message store. Okay, I will name it as message store. See, this validation message store is comes from the Microsoft.ASP.NET Core components.forms. So let's import that namespace. Okay. Now we need to this some important property is like edit form, edit context property, that is a cascading property which will be automatically accessed by the child components when they are rendered under the edit form built-in Blazor component. Okay, so we can access that edit context of a edit form by accessing as a cascading form property. So public edit context. Okay, I will name it as current edit context. Okay, and it should be decorated as cascading because it is comes from the parent component, cascading parameter. Okay. If you hover over on the edit component, edit context, you can see that it comes from Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Components.Forms.edit context. Okay. Now next thing is I have mentioned right this custom validator on inheriting component base. It is also a Blazor component. So here we can override one lifecycle method of the uh, Blazor component like I am going to override this one on initialize. Okay, let's go to our component. Here what I will do, I will do like public override, okay, void on initialized. Sorry, I think it here is protected, so we should not change to public. So it should be protected. Here, so I want to implement some logic while initializing the component. Okay, so what first thing is I need to confirm that current form context should not be empty. So what if it is empty? I need to throw a some custom error message like throw new invalid. Okay, here what I have to, if you are using our component like our custom validator component inside of a Blazor form, it should get it context compulsory. If it is not getting, either we have done some wrong implementation while rendering the edit form, or else we are rendering our validation custom validator component outside of the edit form component. Either these two things should be are happening. So at that time, what we are doing, we are throwing an error like context of edit form. Okay, any message, some custom error message. Okay, so if it is null, then it will throw error in our application. Okay, so next line of code is I want to initialize this validation message store. Okay, actually this variable is for to store our custom messages into it. Okay, so let's initialize it. Valid, sorry, message store equal to new validation message store. It is also expects one parameter like form context. So we will pass our current edit form context. Okay, and here semicolon. So that's the logic we need for on initialized method of lifecycle method of this component. Next thing is we need to write a one custom method like public void display errors. Okay, this method will be used for adding the error message into our validation message store. So here this method should take a parameter like dictionary. Okay, string and a collection of errors. Okay, I will name it as errors. This is the input for adding the errors. So here what we will do here like we will loop the errors where error in errors. Okay, here what we will do Here in our message store, we will add error dot key, dictionary key, and error dot value will be added. Sorry, it is not like this key value. What I have to do means it is expecting some input form field identifier. See here, field identifier means form field identifier as a key for the message. So for that, what we will do, we will use current context dot field. Okay. If you pass the field name, actually while calling this display error message, the dictionary parameters, so how they will pass means they will create a dictionary as a form field as a key and a list of error as the errors to display. So here what we will do, here we will pass our error dot key, so that will identify our form field. Okay, now it should be good. So this dictionary key is always should be our form field key. Okay, that we will explain in the upcoming steps. So here finally we are adding message store error by form field as a key and error message collection as a collection of errors and storing in the message store. And finally what we have to do, we need to notify form validation has been changed. State has been changed. Okay? So that our error messages will be automatically reflected onto the UI. So this is the entire logic for now for our custom validation. What we are doing here, we have created two variables, like one is validation store message, where it will store the user custom validation errors that are going to be assigned while we are validating our form value against the data store. Next thing is edit context that comes from the parent form component. And in uninitialized method, we are checking that our current context should have a created. If not created, we will throw the error. And then we are creating the store validation message store memory by passing our edit form context as a input parameter. And next we have created another public method like it that takes input parameter as a dictionary of errors, and that dictionary contains key as a form field name. And finally we are adding those values by looping them into our message store. So finally we are notifying that validation state has been changed to the form. So here here also we just need to import our namespace of our component, so it will be easy while using them in our browser component. Okay, registered. And finally we need to create a form. For that, what I will do, I will use existing index.razor page. Okay, I will get rid of this, and here what I will do, I will create edit form. Okay, edit form expects some properties. So first let's create those or C# code block. So I have forgot to create a model for my form. So we need to pass a model to the form Blazor edit form. For that we need to create a model. So go here. What I will do, I will create another folder like models. Okay, models, and inside of it models I will create a user.cs file. Okay, now namespace. Here for my sample, my model is a very simple model where I will contain only single property for demo purpose. I will have a property like email. Okay, that's about the my model, and also import this namespace into my imports folder. So at the rate using and so I have also imported my model's namespace. Now go to our index.razor page. Here I will create user class, user object. I am going to assign this to the edit form component. So user. Okay. So in edit form, we will have a input property like model, and here we will assign our user. Okay. And I also want to create a callback method, public, and void submit method. This method should be invoked on form submission. Okay. So here on validate submit. So here I am using event like form event like on validate submit means uh, this this on validate submit we need to register uh, callback method like submit I am registering here. Okay. So when this will execute means when the form is valid, then when we click on the submit button, this callback method will be executed. For suppose if form is not valid, this callback method will not execute it because this event only raises on the valid submit. So here in our sample, I am having only one property in my model. Okay, I don't have any data annotations. So if you have a data annotations and if all the data annotations are satisfied the rules, then form will be automatically valid form. Then it will be invoked. So here I don't have any validations, right? Like data annotations. Here my target is only on submitting to the server. So here my form is always valid form only based on the logic of data validation because here we don't have any data annotation. So our custom means our submit method always invoked in my sample when we clicked on the submit button. And here we will implement logic later. Now another thing, we need to render data annotation validator built-in component that will enable the edit form validations. And next is validation summary I will use. If you want, you can use validation message per field. Here only single field right for me. And now here I need to render my custom validator as well. So custom validator. Okay. For this custom validator, we need to create a reference variable. So let's create private custom validator, custom validator. So it will be referenced to this component. Okay. Custom validator. Okay. Now let's add our input field here with simple uh, bootstrap style, small bootstrap style. So this is my sample snippet for bootstrap styling. Here what I will do, here inside of this form group, I will render my input text component. Okay. And at the rate bind hyphen value, here I need to bind to my user dot email. Okay. Now whatever data entered into this input text box will be captured into our user dot email property. Okay. And I can do id attribute as well. id equal to txt email, and let me create input button, sorry, submit button. Okay, submit, uh, classes like prime, btn primary. Okay, so this is all about my form thing. What we have did, we have rendered edit form context and we assigned our user model and a callback method. Data annotation component rendered, validation summary message component rendered, and also render our custom validator component. Okay, now in submit method, we need to implement logic. So we need to import our test logic file. So for that, I will use inject I test logic, so that I can validate my form value against my fake collection of emails. So here what I will do, I will assign test logic dot, I will do if test logic dot is exist email. Here we will check against our email. Okay, means here if it is true means our user entered form email is already exist in our server. So at that time what we need to do, we need to add a error message. So for that what we will do here, we will create a dictionary object, dictionary, and of type string and list of list of errors. Now what we will do here, uh, we will add error message like add, and see here the key value should be name of my field. Name of my field is nothing but my user model property name. For that what I will do, namespace name of, okay, user dot email. It will grab the name of my field and as a key, and here we will declare list of strings, and I will add error like email is already exist. Okay, see, so here we adding field name, right, as a key. If you go to our custom validator, that's why we are passing our key value to the field so that we can identify the field type, field identifier. So that message will be stored to that particular field, so that when we use validation uh, validation message edit component, so relevant error message will be displayed under that. So here what we are doing, we are storing a error message to the particular field. For that what we are doing, in our component we are getting our field name as a key. In custom validator what we are doing, using that key we are fetching the field identifier and storing that message to that particular field identifier in the message store. So message store already initialized with context, right? So it can understand which field we are added that message. So that's the logic behind these two lines of code. I think you get some idea on this. Okay. So next thing what I have to do is, to this error message I have added error message, right? If email is already exist, now we need to display those error messages. For that what we have to do means, we need to check condition like if errors dot count greater than 0, okay, then validator custom validator dot display errors, and we will pass our errors here. See, that's how we will use this display error message. So on invoking this, automatically our error messages will be added into the message store. Once the error messages are updated to message store, we are updating our form context that validations has been changed. So on invoking this notified validation change event, automatically the error form will be re-rendered with the new error message on it. Okay, so that's the logic. and we can run now and test our server-side validation. So let me run my application. Name, naming conventions, capital S. I think it's good now. Submit. Okay, let's run it again. So here, this is our form. Let me enter already existing email like navin.gmail is already exist. So to reconfirm it, we will go to our test logic. So in this collection, yes, navin.gmail is already exist. So now what the result I am expecting? I am expecting the error message like already added. Sorry, email is already exist. Or submit is not working. I think we should define type submit to invoke this onValidate message. Let's try. Run it again. Center already existing email and test again. Some issue. It is not a invalid submit, on valid submit. So that is the reason it is not in working. I think it should run now. Sorry, please make sure to use on invalid submit. I have registered wrong event. So let's try again. I will use navin.gmail, which I think existing one. See, my already existed email has been error message has been triggered. Where it is coming from? It is coming from our custom message. In on submit we are adding. See, this message is coming. Okay. If you want, you can more dynamic like user dot email. So you can send email as well in the message. Rerun. So let's test again. See. So from this we can confirm our error message is coming from here only. Right? And if you see, we have successfully added our custom error message based on the server-side validation. We have added our custom error message using our custom validator component. Okay, so far everything is fine. Now I want to show some issues in our implementation and also solutions for them. So now if I change my email to like new email that is not exist in my server. So this is my like king.gmail.com. Okay, that is not in my server. So what should it will do? It should get rid of this error message, right? Should not show error message. See, I am clicking, but still I am seeing error message. That too, if you observe navin.gmail means our old error message means still rendering, right? That is because the old error message that we are adding where custom.validated display through this we are adding into the message store means here our added message previously added message still in the message store object only. It is not cleared. So we should clear the message error message from the message stores. For that what we have to do? We need to do something like on on validation requested raised event, we need to clear our messages. For that, we need to register a event here where based on our edit form context. Because why we are registering edit form context means the event will be raised only when our form is edit form is changed. Okay. So that's why I'm using edit form context and registering a event. So form test dot on validation is requested. Okay. For this event, we need to register our callback method so that it will get executed every time when the form request the on validation is requested. So here we will register event like and what we are doing, we are clearing our entire message store dot clear. It is a default method that comes from the validation message store. So what we are doing on the erase of this event from the context, we are clearing the all messages that are inside in the message store. Okay, that's good, right? So when this on validation is requested, okay, that will be requested when we click on submit to raise this event. Okay, on valid submit. How edit form will know this form is valid? So for that it will send a request to the server so that it will check the form is completely valid or not. So once the response comes from the server is everything good and everything good, then what it will do? It will trigger this submit method. Okay. So on submitting, for to know the on valid means form is valid or not, what it will do? It will send a request. At that request, this event going to be raised. Okay. So in this event, what we are doing? We are registered. Message is clear. So what will happen on every form submission button click, this event raised and it will delete all the error messages that are previously exist. So after that, once the response we got, what it will execute? It will execute the callback method. Inside of the callback method, it will again check the errors. If there are any new errors, it will add. So new errors only displayed because we are deleting old errors in the on validation request raised event. So to check that, let's have debuggers as well here. So here I am adding debugger and also here I am adding debugger for a better understanding. Okay. I added here and also added here. So let's run our application and our form is rendered. So first let's test our existing only to display some error message. See, I clicked submit, right? The first on valid is raised and then our submit is invoked. Okay. See, our error message has been displayed. To know it more clearly, networks. Okay, what we will do, we will test again. Okay, here this is our Blazor server signaler file that is going to run backgroundly that will update our entire what I can say form and validation. I mean, see every form field it will go to the server and checks for the validations here. Okay, so let's clear them and let's submit my button. See, on submission, it sends some request, but it is not completed because it is raised on validation request here. Okay, I hit submit. Okay, see, then it got response. What response? Successfully, event has been raised, right? So this is how the event flow will be occurred there. Okay, now we got everything right. So that's how it works. So that's how the signaler will carry out the communication. So let's check our functionality without these debuggers. Okay. So here, see, I got error and I will change to new. My error message will be cleared. See, that is because of on validate raised event, we are clearing the messages. Okay, and I want to show one more issue. Like here, we will get error, right? If it is there already exist. Some people might want when they change this field itself, they want to get rid of this error. Means when the user changed means they want to some changes has been at the time. Some applications don't want to display the error messages, right? So to clear error message at the time, we have to register one more event like current form edit and field on field change. Similar to this only. See, like this we need to register. Previously we have registered for form. Here we registered per field. Okay. Now message dot clear, and clear it has a overloaded method like e dot field identifier. So what it will do? It will clear per field. How it can clear? He know it know message store. We have registering per field only. Here without any parameter means it will clear entire message store. Here with the field identifier means it only create clear error message particular that field when the field has been changed. Okay, so let's save it and run our application. Now let's first trigger our error. Here error is raised, right? I am changing new something. It might not be a valid value also. If you focus out, see automatically error is deleted. So in this way we can clear error message. So finally, this is how our custom validator logic will looks like. Okay. For clearing the previously added error message, we should register these events. That's all about the custom validator error message. And I think this video has been delivered some useful information how to validate against the form values against the data store values and add a error message that going to render as like as data annotation errors like which they way they display. So I think this video has been delivered some useful information. If you like my video, please do subscribe to my channel. We will meet you again with a new video, guys. Until then, signing off.